Welcome, Hudson Valley, to this week's edition of In Touch, the public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. May is Better Hearing and Speech Month. It was founded in 1927 by the American Speech Language Hearing Association as an opportunity to raise awareness about hearing and speech problems and to encourage people to think about getting their hearing checked. Today's guests are Ed Ryan and Byron Robertson from Beltone Hearing. Since May is Better Hearing and Speech Month, we discuss the importance of getting your hearing tested regularly. Heck, I got my hearing tested recently and even got specialized earplugs, so we talk about that too. We also go into the new legislation passed in November allowing for over-the-counter hearing aids and how the legislation has impacted the community since. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Ed, Byron, and myself here on In Touch. We here at In Touch are all about, well, being in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. What better way to stay in touch with what's going on than by downloading the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station? Not only can you listen to this station live at any time by using the app, but you can also listen to In Touch on demand. Besides In Touch, you can read daily articles about news, events, entertainment, and more that's going on in your community. And when the weather gets bad, you can use the app to check on weather reports to see which schools and organizations are closed. Your Townsquare Media app is also the best place for concert and event tickets. We are constantly giving away tickets to the hottest shows in the area. Again, you'll have access to all of this if you just download the Townsquare Media mobile app for this radio station. In Touch is nothing without the support from the hundreds of listeners we get on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for listening and taking part in the conversation. If you listen to In Touch through a podcast service such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a positive review. With more 5-star reviews on these platforms, the algorithms will work harder to promote our show and bring In Touch to new audiences. That and also sharing In Touch with your friends and family is so important. Just sharing our links and listening live each Sunday goes such a long way. Thank you for all that you do to stay in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's public affairs and issues program, and we got another great episode lined up for you guys today. With us, we actually have returning and new guests all at once. From Beltone, New York, we have Ed Ryan, the president, returning guest. Glad to have you back here.
Thanks for having me.
But then also we have Byron Robertson, board-certified hearing instrument specialist. And we've met on a number of occasions, but we never had you in the studio. Really happy to have you here, Byron.
Well, thank you for having us. Great to be here.
It is really great to have you guys both here, and obviously we've been talking over email. Actually, I've never seen you guys in the same place together until now, so it's kind of cool. Otherwise,
it's like Batman. They don't like to get us in the same room together. It's dangerous. Something happens to one of us.
No, it's good, and it's exciting. I'm already loving the energy the moment you guys got here. This is great. One of the great things about Beltone is that this is a conversation we can have anytime because it is so topical, and it's so good to bring awareness to something like this. This month in particular is very special. May is Better Hearing and Speech Month, and we got a lot to get into with all that. But before we get there, let's give an overview. For those who didn't have a chance to listen to the last episode or just brand new to all this altogether, could one of you guys or both give an overview of what Beltone is?
Yeah, Beltone has been around a little over 83 years now. We're one of the largest manufacturers of hearing aids, one of the largest distributors of hearing aids with over 1,700 locations around the U.S. We've been doing this. It's primarily owned by people like myself around the country where we bring a family feel to this throughout our, the 16 stores we have here in New York and Connecticut. And we are all about helping people here and getting them to that point of wanting to help themselves with this sense that they're just missing. They're missing. It's like with glasses. You and I talked about this before. You need an eye exam. You go get an eye exam. Same thing for hearing. It's one of our senses, and it's something that people just forget about.
It's interesting. Now, why do you think hearing is one of the things that people deny more often? I feel like people deny that they have a hearing issue more than they might deny having a sight issue.
I think part of it is it happens so gradually that your natural instinct is just to cope with it. Like for a lot of people, if they come in and they don't realize that they have a hearing issue, and after we test their hearing and talk to them, they do have an issue. They're just coping with it either through their spouse or by reading lips. They don't realize they have a hearing problem, and I tell them that if it had happened overnight, like if you went from hearing the way you used to the way that you do now, you'd be in the emergency room. So a lot of people just don't realize it because it's so gradual.
I really like that analogy of what it used to be versus now if it happened overnight. You're right. Somebody would be like, I need to get checked out immediately. But when it comes to the gradual process, what is kind of that timeline that you see from people? I know we talked about this last time, Ed, about that it could be like 6 to 7 years before.
Sometimes even longer. 7 to 8 average, statistics will show you. It takes, because they're in denial. And they don't realize it, as Byron pointed out, it's so gradual, you don't realize it. So it takes people about 7 to 8 years to actually get up the courage to come in for a test, which is very simple and easy. Yeah. But it's that, no, I can hear you. You're the one that has a problem. You're the one mumbling. It's not me.
What are some good warning signs to be like, oh, shoot, I might have an issue, or somebody else around them might be like, oh, I think you should probably get checked out. For one thing, personal experience with my family members, the volume on the TV can get higher and higher and higher, and I think that could potentially be a warning sign, right? What would be some other things to be on the lookout for?
Oh, the volume on the TV is a big one, but also people seem to mumble more frequently. When you think everybody's mumbling, you stop hearing household sounds like the dishwasher and the refrigerator. Ringing in the ears is a warning sign. Tinnitus or tinnitus, depending on who you're talking to, is an indicator that you might have a high-frequency loss. So there's a lot of different things, but I would say the mumbling is the biggest complaint that we get. Yeah, that's what drives people.
Yeah, people don't really realize what they're missing. For example, one of the first things that people come in and say, all of a sudden I can hear my refrigerator. They don't realize that falls in a frequency that they're missing. The directional in your car, they don't realize it's still on because it falls within that frequency that they're not actually hearing the directional go
Even
off.
Directional?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Because to you and I, it's super loud, right?
Yeah.
And for them, it falls within that frequency where they're actually not hearing the directional go off.
Also, TV's a big one, but hearing on the phone.
Yes.
Like in real life, if you have trouble hearing, you can cope with it by looking at facial expressions or the context of what you're talking about. But on the phone, you lose all those clues.
Yeah.
And it's just whether or not you heard it. That's a big one. Hearing in noisy places. Like a lot of people can have a one-on-one conversation with no problem and think that they're hearing everything, but they're actually not. They might be missing certain sounds like the S's and F's. But if it's one-on-one and they're paying attention, they can figure it out. It's like your brain's doing a puzzle and you're missing a couple pieces, but you know where they go and it's easy to put them in the right place. But if you're at a restaurant, you're still missing those pieces, but now there's all these extra pieces that don't belong, and it just really highlights the fact that you're having trouble.
Yeah. They can hear, but they don't understand.
Yeah.
So and that's why it takes so long, because they know they can hear you. They just don't understand you.
And then you're using all the other senses that you have to try to fill in those gaps. But let's say something, as you said, on the phone. You're not seeing those lips. You're not seeing the expressions. So you're losing so much of the communication right there. Yep. That's big.
Well, and I think another thing, a lot of people have a misconception where like maybe their grandmother had a big hearing aid or a box that they had to talk in that didn't work very well and it didn't look very appealing. And they think that's what it is and don't realize the great advances that have been made where the hearing aids are not only smaller and work better, but also even if you weren't necessarily even if you weren't sold on the fact that you can't hear, just all the other things that you can do with them, like connecting them to your cell phone to stream the audio, to stream phone calls, to stream the television into your ears. So if your spouse wants to go to sleep, you could hear the television better than you've heard it in years and nobody else has to hear it, while at the same time hearing if the doorbell rings or if she calls your name or something like that. So a lot of people are pleasantly surprised when they finally come in and realize they don't have to have a big, huge hearing aid.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting, and I've been finding this with a number of guests recently when it comes to misconceptions and stereotypes. A lot of these misconceptions and stereotypes feel very 20th century, and you don't realize how far things have come in the 21st century. And I think that's really impressive because you're right, that misconception of the huge hearing aids or having the issues, the elderly, seeing your grandparents with that, that's the stereotype in so many people's heads, but you just, in a few sentences, just broke it down how far things have come. I think that's really impressive. And I'm glad that you mentioned the hearing aids. Obviously, you guys deal with hearing aids all the time, but bringing it up is a nice transition. Ed, the last time that we spoke, there was a new legislation in place about over-the-counter hearing aids. And we were saying at the time that it was only going to do good things for business and also good things for awareness when it comes to better hearing and speech health. And here we are in Better Hearing and Speech Month. Let's talk about that. What have things looked like in the last 6 months since that legislation has come through?
It's been incredible, actually. The last 6 months have brought so much awareness. And it was fresh off the topic when we first started
when we said
it.
It was just happening.
We didn't know where it was going to go, where it was going to take us, but it has been incredible to raise the awareness, bringing this to the forefront so people can realize that this is actually something that is treatable, whether if it's an over-the-counter or it's a prescription hearing aid. And they've made those defined lines between over-the-counter, which you can get at a drugstore, Best Buy, et cetera, or a prescription hearing aid where you have to go to somebody that's licensed to dispense hearing aids. And the awareness has just been incredible. And it's people like myself finding it for my father and saying, if I wasn't in the business, my generation, where they're finding this and saying, all right, Mom, let's go get a hearing aid. One thing Byron started talking about before that we didn't touch on just yet, which was safety. Safety is a huge thing because imagine being in a home and not being able to hear a smoke detector go off, for example. So just the fact that over-the-counter has come to the market, the president's talking about it in his speech. There's things that are raising this awareness to more people, and it's been incredible for all these, 33 million people that have undiagnosed hearing loss in the U.S. right now.
And it's a great option. I had a patient yesterday, came in for a hearing test, and she had very few complaints about her hearing. The main complaint was she had troubles at a particular meeting that happens once a week at her job. Other than that, she didn't really need hearing aids, didn't have a huge loss. It was the cost-benefit ratio was out of whack. Not time for her to wear hearing aids. So we started talking about over-the-counter hearing aids, and she ended up getting some that we have. Beltone partnered with Jabra, and we have an over-the-counter hearing aid option that was perfect. Connects to her phone, and she can use it as a Bluetooth headset at the gym. When she wants it for that meeting, she can turn it up and hear really well with it. So it's given us a lot of opportunities to help people that before we would have had to tell, we can't really help you. It's not time for a hearing aid, but that doesn't solve their problem. So it's been good.
No, that's good to be able to see. It's able to meet people where they are, and there's a much bigger spectrum of the people that you're able to help, it sounds, compared to, say, 10, 20, 30 years ago. To be able to have that kind of access is really important, and I love to hear it. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. We are speaking with Ed and Byron from Beltone, and we're talking about the improvements that are going on when it comes to hearing aids, and of course, it is Better Hearing and Speech Month. Really important to get out there and to be aware of your hearing health. It is one of your main senses. It is something that you want to make sure that you take care of regardless of whatever age you are. And one thing that I want to bring up now, as we were talking about the over-the-counter hearing aids and how things have been doing really well with that since the legislation passing in November, something that you mentioned earlier, Byron, before we got on the mic, was leasing hearing aids. That's an option now, and I would be really curious to learn more about what's going on for that side of things.
So one of the major objections for hearing aids is the cost. A lot of people that need hearing aids are on fixed incomes, and they're expensive. But I guess probably 5 or 6 years ago, we started leasing them, where traditionally, if you buy a hearing aid, most people get new ones on average about every 4 years. You don't have to. They can last a lot longer than that. But the technology improves so quickly that they just get better and better. So with the leasing, for payments as low as $75 a month up to about $200 a month, you can have hearing aids that are always under warranty. The payment never changes. And then every 3.5 years, we take them back and you get brand new ones. So it's a really good option for people that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford hearing aids, where they're trying to make it where it's more like your water bill. Like it's never going to change. As long as you can afford the payment, it should take care of all costs related to your hearing forever without changing. So all repairs, all appointments are included, and it's a really good opportunity for people to get the help that they need.
Yeah, you look at it like your cell phone. Your cell phone technology changes so often, sometimes 2 years, right? Same thing happens with technology as we're evolving, as you said before, that all of a sudden, there might be a hearing aid that works better in background noise, which is something we just came out with back in December of this past year. And all of a sudden this is changing, so they're able to do that. So it's just something nice that's come out that has been, we found a lot of great success with it. It took us a little while to get into it. But as we've started to get into the last three years or so, it's really been great to help these people here.
Oh, that's terrific. No, it's good to be able to hear that there are these options to be able to help things out. And I really like what you said with cell phones. Cell phones, that's changing like every couple of years, and people are updating that. You're right, the technology, it's always updating, it's getting better, and it's more accessible to people who probably at one point wouldn't have been able to even consider something like this. So no, that's really great. I'm really happy to hear about that. One thing that I want to bring up that probably doesn't get talked about enough, the spring, it's spring right now, spring and summer. There's a lot of events that are going to be going on. People want to go to concerts and different events, and it's going to be loud. It's going to be very loud. And nobody's paying me to say this. I was a customer. I got earplugs. Byron helped me out to get earplugs specially made. And, me working in sound field and music field, there's something that was really important to me, and it makes a difference. We were talking about Patty and Poughkeepsie, our Townsquare event. I was wearing my earbuds there, and people who are saying to me is like they're getting headaches or they can't hear. Is like, I'm doing just fine. So I want to talk about events that people go to and the atmosphere and environment that they're going to be finding themselves in when it comes to the spring and summer, how people can better protect themselves.
Yeah, I think it's not even just the spring and summer either, because if you think about it, protecting your hearing is one of the most important things you can do. Think about a leaf blower. Think about a snow blower.
Yes.
Think about all these things that we take for granted. Myself, I was out blowing leaves the other day, and I wore headphones, but you can wear ear headphones to protect your hearing, because you have to protect what you have. And so I think that's huge. We do a lot with the ear, the custom made ear molds. We do it for swimmers because people get swimmer's ear. So you think about it, keeping the water out, and you have to protect what you have. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is being able to do that. Years ago, military, think about it. They never wore hearing protection. And a lot of these people from the wars have hearing loss as a result of this. People who work in a factory, that's another thing. There's been laws that have since come out, but it's up to us to make sure we're protecting. Like you proactively did it yourself, and you've seen the difference in what it makes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because once you lose it, you can't get it back.
Yeah.
And hearing aids can bring you back into the conversation, and they're great, but nothing replaces your natural ability to hear.
No, absolutely. Obviously, there's so many surgeries that you hear for like eyesight and things along those lines. But yeah, with hearing, once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah. And that's a difficult thing.
I should say that's not entirely true. Once it's gone, with cochlear implants, they can make you hear again. But for some people, but it's not as great as natural hearing.
That's not like something everybody has access to at this point,
No.
Unfortunately. Thank you for that distinction. I appreciate it. But you're right. Having that ability to be able to hear and to be able to take care of yourself is very, very big. As we are focusing on Better Hearing and Speech Month, we're talking about being proactive and protecting oneself. I'm glad that you brought up the leaf blower and the lawnmower and snow. All of that. That's all very, very crucial day-to-day stuff. Yep. What are some other things that people should keep in mind as they're trying to watch out for their health? Something to keep in mind for this month and onward.
So I think something that's really changed in the last 10, 15 years, and when I started 20 years ago, maybe 2%, 3% of insurances or unions would actually offer you a benefit. And I think people may be surprised of what some of their insurances might be able to offer to them. And they don't know to ask because it's never been part of it. And, it get as high as 10%. And then what we've seen in the last 2-3 years, that this is steadily growing, where more and more insurances, more and more unions, they're seeing this as one of it's a disability if you can't hear. It is. It's one of your senses, as you said that before, and it's one of your senses. So they're starting to realize this and starting to recognize it. So I would encourage everybody to check their insurances, see what they have.
Wow. No,
Well, and just to go out and get a hearing test. We offer hearing tests. It doesn't cost anything. And it's even if you don't feel like you have a problem, it's nice to know where you're at. Because 5 years from now, if you do have a problem, we can look back and see the progression and know where it began. And it really is helpful to know. Because some people, since I've been in this industry, I can't tell you how many people I've met that have had sudden hearing loss. Okay. And they wake up one day and they don't hear well. It's usually on one side. And they go to the doctor. But if that person had a previous hearing test from 3 years ago, it's really nice to be able to evaluate that and see.
To have that baseline to compare it against what it is. And I think we talked about this the last time, and Byron would agree. Just like your eyesight, you get tested every year. You should get tested for your hearing every year. And so like the woman that you just fit with over the counter, now you have a great baseline that you can look at. And in 4 or 5 years, if she is a candidate, you'll have that baseline from last week to look at, to see, so you can actually see the progression of where it is going.
Yeah, that's terrific. And one thing that I really want to stress that you just said, Byron, it's free, right? For these people?
It's really free. People have a hard time with that.
What's the catch?
There is no catch.
There's no catch. And also we have caption phones that if you have a hearing loss, they're totally free.
Wow.
And so
federally funded program.
It's a federally funded program. There's a tax on your phone bill that already pays for it. And when we first started with these phones, probably 10, 15 years ago, you had to pay for them. And they were about, I think it was $50 a phone, and almost every person left with a phone. And then it became free, and they're very difficult to give away because people assume that there's some sort of catch, that it's going to add something to my phone bill. Do I need another phone line? Is somebody tracking my phone calls? And there's really no catch. If you have a hearing loss, you can have this phone, and it, aside from typing what the message has said in real time, it's also a really great, loud phone. And people have a problem with free things.
And hearing tests,
that's interesting.
Hearing tests can be charged. We as a business choose not to charge because we feel it's that important for people to get their hearing tested. So we take that obstacle out of the way.
That's really important, and I'm glad that you guys are able to do that, the altruistic outlook to it. I'm sure it helps you guys bond with your customers and bond with your patients and be able to establish that rapport and a really good trust. And that's awesome that, that the hearing test is free. And I didn't know that about the phones. That's really cool. So, and I'm sure there's probably somebody out listening that had no idea about that. Yep. And maybe that might just help them out. That's terrific. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's Public Affairs and Issues program. We've been speaking with Ed and Byron from Beltone, and we've been talking about a lot of the benefits of getting your hearing tested. This is Better Hearing and Speech Month, and we are just really, really encouraging people to get that checked out. I did it. I got myself special earplugs. Byron helped me out with that, and they have been a lifesaver, and it's been really incredible. Now, as we wrap things up, is there something that we haven't discussed yet that you guys want to leave with our In Touch listening audience? Any last nuggets?
The big thing, as I said to you last time, I'm just a big fan of getting your hearing tested. It is just huge, especially this month. I'm so happy there's awareness around this, not only from the OTC, but this Better Hearing Month has been around for a long time, and it's great. There's walks all around the country for the Better Hearing Month. It's a great thing that it's finally being brought to the forefront. You're seeing it more with insurances. You're seeing it talk about the counter. The president's talking about it. I think there's just so many positives about this, and I would just encourage you to come into any stores, anybody's for that matter. It's just important to get tested.
A lot of people come in and they think they have a hearing loss, and their ears are completely filled up with wax, and it's such an easy fix. And so we have a video otoscope where when you come in, we can actually show you the inside of your ear canal and your eardrum, that it's clear or that you need to go have it taken care of.
And that's something that I've had issues with all my life. Actually, the very first time I saw you, Byron, I was all plugged up.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. So I had to get that taken care of, and it does make a difference. Yep. And it does help out with your ear health. And as somebody who's dealt with, getting my ears impacted pretty much most of my childhood. Getting that taken care of, that's more than just your hearing. That could give you scarring based on my my experience and other issues, infections even.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
So that's very important. Thank you for bringing that up. Guys, that is so good. Thank you so much. Where can people find information on Beltone?
Beltone.com is the best way to reach us. We have in the Hudson Valley, we have 5 different stores scattered throughout the whole Hudson Valley, and many more throughout the state. And like I said before, there's 1,700 locations around the country. So Beltone.com is the best place to go. It's Beltone.com, and it's you can book an appointment you can book your free appointment online, and just come in and see us. We just encourage you to come in and see us.
Perfect. It's kind of hard not to find you guys with
See
that
if it's
many
wax.
locations.
Byron brought up a good point. See if it's wax or you actually have a hearing loss.
Yeah.
So
very,
it doesn't
very
cost
good.
anything.
Appreciate it, guys. Ed, Byron, thank you guys for coming in to In Touch today.
Thank you so
Thanks
much for having us. Really appreciate it.
This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to Ed Ryan and Byron Robertson. For more information on Beltone Hearing, visit Beltone.com. Remember, that's Beltone. For more information on Better Hearing and Speech Month, visit asha.org/BHSM. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just joined us, thank you for listening to In Touch. You can find In Touch episodes new and old on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand with your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab on the radio station's app and website. And don't forget, you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. If you like what we do here on In Touch and want to be on the show, let us know. Whether you have a topic you want discussed or you want to be a guest, the best way to contact us is through our office number 845-471-1500 or email direct to connor.walsh@townsquaremedia.com. I've been your host, Connor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time.